Okay, guys, so this is the sponsoring system, step three, goal setting and planning. So, tonight we're going to deal with the goal setting aspect of everything. Okay, we're not particularly going to go into planning tonight. Planning will be next week's training. So, taking a look at actually goal setting, what is goal setting or what is a goal? To me, goal setting is focusing on what you want instead of what you don't want. A lot of us go through life saying, I don't want to be in debt, I don't want this house, I don't want to live here anymore, I don't want to drive this car, I don't want to go to the same job, I don't want the same pay package, I don't want the same friends in my life, I don't want my partner, or whatever it is. And a lot of us go through life focusing on all the things that we don't want. And a lot of us don't sit down and actually take the time to look at the things that we do want. Where is it that we want to go? And you'll understand the importance of this as I go through and explain how the mind works. Okay? So, goal setting, why do we do it? Why do it at all? Well, because how do you know where you are? How do you know where you're heading if you don't know where you're going? How can you tell if you're on the right track? How can you tell if you're making progress? How can you tell if the actions that you're taking, the activity that you're doing is all moving you in the right direction for what you want? Because unless you've got clarity on what it is that you actually want, unless you've defined what your purpose is and how you're going to get there, you could take all the action in the world, but it could be the wrong action moving you in the wrong direction. That makes me think of a quote by Alice in Wonderland, and it was the big Cheshire Cat with the big smile. And Alice said, "Is this the way to the castle?" And the Cheshire Cat said, "Sorry." Alice said, "Is this the right way? Which way do I go?" And he says, "Well, that all depends on where you want to go." And she says, "I don't know." He says, "Well, either way is the right way to go then. If you don't have a destination, whatever you're doing is the right thing to do because it doesn't matter where you end up." You see, there's been research done. Okay, research in the UK shows that out of a group of 125-year-olds, by the age of 65, one will be rich, four will be financially independent, six will still need to be working. Those are the people you've seen working at Asda and Morrison's and other stores way beyond the age of retirement, but they're still pushing trolleys around, or they're helping with bagging, or they're doing jobs to keep money coming in because they can't afford to retire. Some people do like shopper check or the pools and things like that, go around collecting money because they can't afford to retire. 32 people will be dead. How shocking is that, to think that a third of the population from the age of 25 to the age of 65, 32 of them will die before the age of 65. And 57 will be dependent upon the state. And when you think about how the state pension is and things like that, do you know, it's shocking to believe that so many people end up not having their own home, living in paid for accommodation, having care, and all that sort of thing, because in those 65 years, they've accumulated nothing, which is what it boils down to. So, what separates the top 5%? So, the top five out of the 100. Well, another research was done at Harvard University in America, similar to this, and they took 100 students and tracked them through their lives. And they looked at where those people ended up by the age of 65, pretty much like this research here. And the top 5% had written down clear, defined goals. They knew where they were heading in life, they knew what they wanted, they had a purpose. But not only did they have that purpose, they had it written down and it was clear and they knew where they were going. So the chances are, on this research here in the UK, of 100 25-year-olds by the age of 65, the top 5% have probably got written down goals, know where they're going, because it runs parallel with the studies done at Harvard University. So how does it actually work? Why does goal setting work? Well, in order to understand that, it's important that we understand how the human mind works. That should say human mind, not humour mind, okay? So that's human mind. I'm sure you're all aware that there's two parts to the human mind, the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. What we're going to do is take a look at the 4 principles of the conscious mind and the 3 principles of the subconscious mind. If you understand these, you might understand why you take the actions that you take. So starting with the conscious mind. The first thing the mind does in order to make, it goes through this 4-step process in order to form a decision. Okay, so first thing it does is perception, then it goes through the association, then the evaluation, and then it makes a decision. That's what you do, and I'll explain what each one means. Don't worry, I'll explain that to you. So let's just take a look at the conscious mind to start with. Perception. Perception is what it believes to be true. Okay, so for instance, when the human race believed the world to be flat, that was the humans' perception of the planet. They believed it to be true that the world was flat. Now we all know that it's not, but that was the human perception. That's what it believed to be true. It then goes through the action of association. What previous experience does it have to back up that belief? Okay, so most people back then hadn't travelled to the edge of the world, but they listened to experts, to explorers, to scientists, to mathematicians, to people who said the world is flat. And because they put their trust in these experts that they believed knew more than they did, they then made that their experience. They associated that with the truth. We then talk about the evaluation. So then the mind then thinks, well, okay, so basing on what it believes to be true, going and looking at its previous experience or other people's experiences, what's going to happen if I sail to the edge of the earth? Is it going to result in pain or pleasure? Is it going to give me pain or is it going to give me pleasure? And then the conscious mind forms its decision based on the information that it has to hand. So obviously the decision was, we do not sail to the edge of the earth because you're going to fall off and that's going to result in massive amount of pain. So that's how your conscious mind makes decisions on the actions that it takes. In its lowest form, everything is based on pain or pleasure. And understanding that, you might understand why you take some of the actions that you take, some of the decisions that you make, because it's resulting in pain or pleasure. Okay, so let's have a look at the subconscious mind. The subconscious mind we have no control over as such. It runs in the background, or we have no conscious control of it, let's say. So it deals with things like life management, so the beating of your heart, the breathing while you're asleep, the thoughts that go through your head, the dreams. It deals with all sorts of life management things, your bodily functions that happen whether you think about it or not. It's just going on in the background all the time. Your subconscious mind also deals with the storage, retrieval, processing of information. So things that's happened in your past, memories, experiences, things like that. It stores that information back in its filing cabinets, and when the time is right, it will retrieve that information so that you can make decisions based on it subconsciously sometimes. Now, lots of information stored about a similar activity or a similar experience start to form your beliefs. Okay, so a bunch of information is what starts to form your beliefs. So to give you a quick idea, let's say for instance, you might think you're not good enough to do something. Now that belief is quite a common belief. I'm not good enough. Where does that belief regularly come from? Well, quite often it starts when we're a child at school and you might be picked last for the rounders team or the football team. That starts to make you think, because of that experience, it makes you start to think, actually, do you know what? I'm not very good. People don't pick me first. And then all of a sudden you go along to school and you do and sit your GCSEs or your exams, your O-levels or whatever it is, and you might fail one or two. And then that's another process of information that says, I'm not good enough. Then you might go and get a college, go to college or get a part-time job or something, and you screw up at work and make a mistake, which is what lots of people do. You might do something that was stupid. And a lot of people associate that with being, I'm stupid. But doing something stupid doesn't mean you are stupid. But your subconscious mind goes, oh dear, I've made quite a few mistakes, doing things wrong, one thing or another. I'm not good enough to run a business. I'm not good enough to achieve financial success. I'm not good enough to have the things that I want, desire, and dream about. And that's what's happening in your subconscious mind. Okay? The next thing that your subconscious mind does, it deals with problem solving. Now, consciously, you might say, oh, what was that kid's name at school now? What was that lass's name or that guy's name? They just married such and such. And you can't remember the person's name for the love nor money. But then the next thing, you sat down in a quiet room, minding your own business, maybe reading a book or just contemplating or watching TV, and all of a sudden it pops into you and you goes, oh, it was Michael Jones. Of course it was Michael Jones and Mary Smith. Okay? Because your subconscious mind has been working on that question all the time when you've left it. When you've just left it to get on with it and you're not now trying to force the answer, your subconscious mind is processing the questions that you've asked it, and it will find the solutions. That's why we say there is a solution to every problem. You've just got to allow your subconscious mind to find it. Okay? Now, a way to try and explain the conscious and the subconscious mind. The subconscious mind is extremely powerful. Okay? It's not as obvious as the conscious mind, but it does a lot of problem solving. It does a lot of work for you that you don't realize is going on in the background. But yet, the subconscious mind can overrule the conscious mind. But yet, we act on our conscious decisions. So how can that be? If the subconscious mind is more powerful than the conscious mind, why is it that we act on our conscious decisions and not our subconscious decisions? And I'll try and explain that for you. That is because if you think of an aeroplane, okay, an aeroplane is a massively powerful vehicle. It can get you all around the world, okay, and it'll turn left, it'll turn right, it'll go up, it'll go down, it'll go faster, it'll go slower. If you think as the subconscious mind as the pilot, even though the conscious mind is far stronger than the pilot always influences where the plane goes. So your subconscious mind is like a pilot. It's in overall control, but it's not as big as the conscious mind, but yet it overrules the conscious mind, and the conscious mind will always do what the subconscious mind tells it to. I hope that makes sense, guys. So, now that you understand that your subconscious controls your conscious, we need to be able to understand the subconscious a bit more. So, the power of the subconscious mind. The subconscious mind takes things literally. It doesn't understand jokes. What do I mean by that? Well, quite often people joke about their appearance. They joke about their, what's the word I'm looking for? Deficiencies. Like I might say to someone, I might joke about myself being overweight as a giggle. But the subconscious mind doesn't realise you're joking. So whatever you keep telling it over and over again, it believes. Remember how it acts on collected information and it forms beliefs? So if you keep telling it negative stuff all the time, oh, I'm overweight, I'm fat, I keep saying, this is the one, okay? I keep saying I'm dyslexic. Now, I've never ever been actually diagnosed dyslexic, but listening to what people have said and understanding the way that I read and my spelling and how I write in capitals rather than small letters, and I can read certain things better when they're spelt wrong and stuff like that. I've self-diagnosed myself as dyslexic, but I wear that as a label. I openly admit it, okay? But it's now started to form a belief that I now believe that I'm dyslexic, because I've said it over and over and over again. And maybe you too can relate to something that you've said over and over and over again, maybe used it as an excuse or a reason or something, and you've started to form the belief. That is because your subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between fact and fiction. You just tell it something enough and it will believe it. 2. It acts on the strongest, most dominant program. So if you say something, repetition over and over again, and you say it with clarity and vividness, and you visualize it, and you can feel it, and you emotionalize it, okay, it will start to act on that dominant program. The more you program it into your mind, the more you feel it, the more you embrace it, the more you live it, the more your subconscious mind will start to believe it, and it'll tell your conscious to take action on your beliefs. So you can change your beliefs by changing your programming. Okay. Also, it considers the source of the program. You might have heard me say earlier that people believed the world was flat because the experts said so. Well, the experts also said that if you got AIDS, you're guaranteed to die. The experts also said, I'm just thinking off the top of my head here, I can't remember the name of the drug, but it created thalidomide. Oh God, I can't remember the word. But you know what I mean, children born with no legs, no limbs, or short legs, or short limbs, because of a drug that they recommended that pregnant women took. Okay? And this is because of what the experts say. So your subconscious will act on where the programming comes from, the source of that programming. Okay, so if it's your parents, if it's someone you trust, if it's someone you see as an expert, be careful what you listen to, because it can create your beliefs in your subconscious mind. It also operates on stored programming until given new programming. So like we say to people, the reason we recommend personal development and reading and everything else is because what you're doing is you're reprogramming your subconscious mind. You're giving it other information to change your actions, because if you change your actions, if you change your thoughts, you change your words. If you change your words, you change your actions. If you change your actions, you change your results. And what we're all here for is to change our results. Would you agree? Okay. Your subconscious mind also can't tell the difference between imagination and reality. Have you ever had a dream that's been so clear that when you woke up, you weren't sure if it actually was a dream or not? Have you ever had vivid, clear thoughts that you just, that they were just so clear you actually lived them? I want to give you a story here about a basketball team, or 3 basketball teams actually, and they were doing a scientific experiment. And they took this basketball team and they said to one group of people, they said, right, what we want you to do is go home this week and do no practice. Well, first of all, we want you to shoot some baskets, and then once you've shot those baskets, go home, just rest for a week, and then come back, meet us back here at this gym in a week's time, and we'll do exactly the same again. So that team shot 10 baskets, or they fired 10 balls at the basket, and let's say, for argument's sake, they got 3 out of 10. Okay. They then said to the second group of people, what we'd like you to do is do exactly the same, shoot 10 balls for 10 baskets, but when you go home this week, what we'd like you to do is actually practice day in, day out for 2 hours a day, shooting the ball at the baskets like you would if you were playing for a team. And they said to the third group, what we'd like you to do is shoot your 10 baskets, but when you go home, we don't want you to actually physically shoot any more baskets, but for 2 hours a day, we want you to sit down and visualize, imagine standing on that court and shooting the basket every day, and visualize the ball going into the basket, the round of applause, the cheers, and everything that you would get by scoring those baskets. When they all met back up a week later, the group that didn't practice got around about the same 3 baskets when they shot the 10. The group that practiced obviously had improvement, okay, and for argument's sake, let's say they got 8 out of 10. The group that visualized it did pretty much the same as the group that actually did it, okay, so they got around about 7, 8 out of 10 as well. But yet they never actually took the action, they just visualized it, they just thought about it in their mind's eye. Another example of this is a simple exercise that you can do, that if you put your arms out in front of you and then put your arms out in front of you and then try and turn as far round to your right as you possibly can with your arms, turning, looking down your arms and turning as far round as you can, keeping your back straight and just turning from the waist as far as you can, and then come back to the center, arms out in front of you, close your eyes, visualize, don't actually do it, but visualize turning much further, reaching round as far as you can, really pushing it, and then do it again a second time. So open your eyes and now actually do it. You'll find you can turn much further the second time than you did the first time. And that is the power of visualization. Your subconscious mind is also the broadcaster and receiver for your thoughts. It attracts what you think about. The best way to explain that really is for you to get a book called The Law of Attraction, or The Secret, or Bob Proctor's You Were Born Rich. There's loads of books out there that talk about the law of attraction, because your thoughts are things. Everything is made up of energy. Your thoughts have got energy, and when you think, you send out energy into the universe, and it's like a magnet, and it will attract the things that match that energy, that frequency. It might not attract it there and then instantly, which is a good thing, because if you all started thinking about an elephant and all of a sudden one appeared in your front room, you'd freak out. But what your mind does, it sends out thought waves into the universe, and you might think this is hocus pocus, but it's been proven time and time again that you send out thought waves into the universe, and positive thought waves attract positive things. However, negative thought waves attract negative things. If you don't believe me, then think about something that you've worried about that actually happened. And the chances are, if you thought differently, it wouldn't have happened. Now also think about things you've thought positively about. Maybe a new relationship, or a new possession, a new car, a new house, a new goal, a new ambition, something you've thought long and hard about, with passion, with emotion, with feeling. And somehow, unexplainedly, it's come into your life. Or sequence of events led you to what it was you were thinking about. And that's because of the law of attraction, and it's all created through the subconscious mind. Also, time means nothing to the subconscious. So as I was explaining earlier, it's no good thinking about an elephant and then one just appears in your front room. However, time has no meaning to your subconscious mind. It just knows what it knows. It thinks about what it thinks about. Time is something that humans have created in order for them to understand space and time. Okay, time is just is relative, as they say. So, your reticular activating system, RAS. Okay, guys, what is your RAS? Basically, your RAS is something at the back of your mind that lets through certain information to your subconscious. Okay, so it's what we call your personal secretary. It stands guard at the door. It lets certain information through to your brain. It's no good if every little breath of fresh air, every little scratch of your clothing, every time your hairs tickle, every time something goes off on your body, it'd be no good if your brain were trying to process all that information. Along with what you saw and heard and smell and taste and everything else, your brain would be going on overload if it were dealing with all this information all the time. So what your RAS does, it only lets certain information through. So it's sat at its desk and it's filing the stuff, saying, yes, that's important, that's not important, we can deal with that later, we'll deal with that now. And it's processing what gets through to your subconscious. So it's separating the important information from the junk mail, basically. Okay, and it'll pick out the information, tools, people that will lead you closer to your goals. So if you've set a goal to buy a Jaguar, okay, your Raz, if there's an advert in the newspaper saying Jaguar for sale, your Raz will go, da-da-da-da, wake up, Kev. There's a bit of an advert here about a Jaguar. It might be worth having a look at. It might be something you're interested in. And you'll notice the adverts for the Jaguar, or you'll notice posters about a Jaguar, or whatever, because your Raz decides what's important to you. So if you don't set the goal, if you don't tell it, it doesn't know. So as I've just said, how does the Raz know? Because we tell it. We tell it what's important to us. We tell it what to look out for. By goal setting, we're telling our secretary that this is a priority. This has to be up front. This has to be the top of the list. If anything related to this thing that I want to achieve, I want to have, I want to feel, anything related to that, you must let through that front door. Okay? So how do we tell it? We tell it, first of all, by writing down our goals. We tell it by creating a goal board and putting pictures on there and letting it see what's important to it. We tell it by affirmations. Affirmations are saying something over and over and over again. Remember, your subconscious mind believes what it hears over and over and over again. One of the easiest ways to change a belief is just to say, if you have a negative belief that you have, all right, maybe it's, I don't know, a negative belief, I eat too much chocolate, okay? So, I want to change that belief that I eat too much chocolate. I could say, I don't like chocolate, I don't like chocolate, I don't like chocolate, I can't stand chocolate, I hate chocolate, I hate chocolate, I hate chocolate. And if I kept saying it loud enough and long enough and loud enough and long enough, eventually there'd be a click and my brain would go, I hate chocolate, because I've reprogrammed my brain. And I'd never eat chocolate again. If you don't believe me, try it. But you've got to keep saying it, you've got to keep doing it until you feel it. And you've got to feel it and believe it and want it. And if you say it long enough and loud enough, you will affirm to yourself that belief. Visualization. We've just talked about the subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between what's real and what's not real. If you visualize what you want to achieve, if you're going for gold, visualize when you're going to achieve it. Visualize the recognition that comes with it. Visualize walking across that stage, cheering, feel it, smell it. What would you hear? What would you see? How would you feel? How would you be breathing? How would you stand? If you actually adopt it all and feel it all, you'll start to believe that you've achieved it. And that visualization is sending out the thought waves, the patterns into the universe that will attract all the stuff you need in order to achieve it. But guys, it's no good just thinking about it. You've got to take action on it as well. All this is programming your subconscious and telling it what's important to you. So, things that you need to work on when it comes to goal setting. Your personal goals. Alright? What things do you want to achieve? What toys do you want? Where do you want to go? What do you want to see? Okay? What are the possessions and things that you need? Now, I understand that some of you may struggle with this. I know I did. One of the reasons I struggled with this is because for a long time, as a child growing up, my parents said to me, I want never gets. And there was a belief that held me back. I want never gets. So I believed if I wanted something, I wouldn't get it. So goal setting for possessions was really, really difficult for me. But I had to change that belief. Okay? I changed it to success only comes to those who go for it. Okay? Success only comes to those who go for it. And that's what I had to say to myself. And I said it over and over and over again. And I had to go for it. I had to make it happen. I changed it into having toys to having success. Then I defined what success was. Success to me was financial freedom. Success to me was £2,000 a month. Well, I've more than achieved that. But that was success when I started out in this business. Physical goals. Okay, health. What do you want to wear? What do you want to eat? How do you want to live? How do you want to be healthier? Spiritual goals. Some of you may be religious, some of you may not. Some of you may believe in a higher power, some of you may not. That is something that's totally personal to you. Relationships. Is there family members that you haven't spoken to for years? Is there colleagues that you used to work with or people you went to school with that you'd like to get back in touch with? Is there relationships that you already have in this present day that you would like to improve in any way, that you would like to make better? Okay. Is there friends that you've had in the past or friends that you've got now that you want to improve your relationship with them? Financial goals. Okay. What kind of money do you want to earn? What do you class as wealth? How do you see yourself? I remember a guy called Rob Foster once saying to me, money doesn't buy you happiness. But he also turned around and said, but he'd rather cry in a Ferrari than a Volkswagen. You know, it's absolutely true. Money doesn't buy you happiness. But here's another false belief, that money is the root of all evil. That is not so. And the actual quote is, the love of money is the root to all evil, not money itself. And a lot of religious people, don't quote me on this because I haven't read the Bible, but I've heard it on personal development tapes and CDs, that a lot of people in the Bible are wealthy. Jesus wasn't a poor person. And the richest man in Babylon and places like that. There were a lot of people in the Bible that had a lot of money. There was nothing wrong with wealth. There's nothing wrong with having money, especially if you use it for the good. Okay, and that's whether that's good for yourself or good for your family or good for others. It just means you don't have to be a bad person. You don't have to be a bad person to have money. Someone once said to me more recently that if somebody's got a lot of money, they've exploited others. What a belief that is to have. Because if that's their belief, they will never have a lot of money because they believe they will have to exploit other people in order to have financial freedom. What's your vocational goals? Where do you see your business in the next 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, 12 months from now, 5 years from now? What are your business and career goals? What are the goals what do you want to achieve over the next few months, weeks, years? So how do we go about setting goals? Write a list of everything you want. Pretend it's Christmas. Okay? Forget about how you're going to achieve it. Forget about the realism of it all. Forget about the practicalities of it all. That's not what it's about. Your subconscious mind solves the problem. It doesn't care what you want. It will find a way of getting it if you really believe it. So write a list of absolutely everything you want. From, like I said, from family, relationships, from money to business to spiritual, everything you want. And let your heart flow free. Don't let your pencil stop until you've written pages of what you want. Then break down your list into short, mid and long-term goals. Now I'm not going to tell you what's short-term, I'm not going to tell you what's long-term. It's up to you. Short-term might be by the end of this week. It might be by tomorrow night. It might be in 6 months' time. Short-term could be in 12 months' time. Long-term could be 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. It's up to you. But you break down your goal list in what you perceive is achievable. And just take note, when you look at your goals, add up how many short-term and how many long-term. And just see if you're long-sighted or short-sighted. Because some people have far too many short-term goals and not enough stuff in the future. But some people have too much stuff that's way off. And then they think, well, it's too long. It doesn't give you that passion, that drive to go out and achieve it because it's something you want in the next 10 years. And some of you might be too long-sighted. So you want a nice balance between short-term and long-term goals. The next thing you need to do is describe your goal on paper. Write it down. Pick the top 3. Pick one of each, a long, a mid and a short-term goal. And describe on that goal in absolute, on a piece of paper, in absolute clarity, what that goal means to you. What would it take to achieve it? How does it make you feel? If, for instance, you want to buy an Armani handbag or whatever. I don't know. I'm not into handbags. But let's say you want to buy a beautiful designer handbag. What is it made of? How does it look? Have you seen a picture of it somewhere? How much does it cost? Who's it by? What is it that you like about it? How would it feel to have that handbag in your hand, in your wardrobe, on display, wherever you keep it? What would you wear with it? Where would you use it? Totally write it down and be as clear as crystal. Because the more clarity you have, the more feelings you have, the more you're going to attract the necessary things into your life in order to achieve it. The more passionate you're going to feel about it. And if you can't feel that passion, if you can't feel that desire, it's a wish, it's not a goal. It's a, yeah, that'd be nice. Yeah, that'd be alright. One day. Well, one day will never happen unless that one day really has clarity and feeling. And make your goals smart. What do we mean by that? Well, it's got to be specific. That's what we've just talked about. When are you going to achieve it? What is it that you want? What's the clarity of it? It's then got to be measurable. Okay? So, how long off? Is it short term, long term, medium term? When do you want to achieve it by? Okay? Can you track your progress? Can you tell if you're on track to achieving it? Which is tracking and know your numbers, which is step 4 of the training. Okay? Is it attainable? How are you going to get it? Alright? Is the goal reasonable enough to be accomplished? If it's like, I want to land on the moon next week, that's not attainable, is it? We're not saying you can't land on the moon, but have you got a realistic timescale? If you wanted to go on to the moon and that was something you wanted to do and you were absolutely passionate about it and you couldn't stop thinking about it and it's what drove you, first of all, you wouldn't be in Clean Easy, you'd probably be in the Air Force, and you'd be going down the road necessary in order to achieve that. Or you'd be taking the actions necessary to achieve it. Is it relevant? Is it worthwhile? Does it get your emotions boiling? Okay? How will you feel when you've achieved it? And is it timely? Okay, when do you need to achieve it by? You'll hear some people say realistic. I don't believe in realistic. Your subconscious mind doesn't know what's real or not real. It just knows what you tell it. It will find a way to solve any problem if you really want to solve it enough. Okay, guys? So when you come to goal setting, and we can do some workshops and exercises on goal setting, but I hope after this training you now understand how the subconscious mind works, why we set goals, why it's important to have goals. Because if you don't tell your mind what you want, it won't find it for you. And by understanding how your mind works, maybe now you'll be more likely to set and create goals for yourself. And I don't care whether you call them goals, dreams, ambitions, wants, desires. A goal is just a name. Every single one of you sets a goal every single day of your life. A goal to get out of bed, a goal to tidy up, a goal to get to work, a goal to get the kids to school on time. You all know how to set goals. You do it every single day. But now we're doing it with clarity, with purpose, with desire, with drive, and with understanding. So sit down, write down everything that you want, and decide what you're going to go get and when you're going to get it by. Because a person without a goal is like a ship without a rudder, guys. You'll just end up crashing on the rocks. Thank you.